transportation models. So the weightage for this particular topic may be around 1 to 2 marks. Okay. So maybe if at all they are asking a 1 mark question, they will ask you some theoretical type of question. Okay. So if it is a 2 mark question, definitely it will be a numerical type of question. So mostly in our industrial engineering subject, we can expect numerical type of questions only. Most probably. So very rarely they will be asking some theoretical type of questions also from this industrial engineering subject. Okay. So that's why we are also focusing more on solving numericals. Okay. So wherever theoretical part is required, there I am providing you with theory. But mostly you can keep this in mind. Okay. So mostly they will be asking numerical questions only from this entire subject. I am not talking about any topic or chapter. Okay. So from entire subject, mostly they will be asking numerical type of questions only. Fine. So let's start with transportation models. So weightage around 1 to 2 marks. And before starting this chapter, again we will just have a brief discussion about the application of these transportation models in industries. Maybe I guess in the very first class we have discussed some application part of this transportation models. The name itself indicates transportation. Okay. So transportation in the sense, whatever the goods or finished goods which you are manufacturing in your industries, you have to transport them from one city to other cities, right? See, you cannot establish manufacturing plants in each and every city all over the India. Okay. So maybe you may have only 2 or 3 manufacturing plants in India. So from those 2 or 3 manufacturing plants, you have to produce finished goods and you have to transport them to all the cities in India, right? So now whenever you are transporting your finished products or finished goods, definitely you have to pay some amount of transportation cost. Definitely you have to bear some amount of transportation cost. You cannot avoid that particular transportation cost, right? So the only thing which we can do is we can minimize the transportation cost. Okay. Now, to minimize this particular transportation cost, we are using some models which are known as transportation models. So basically these transportation models are meant for optimizing the transportation cost. So already we have discussed optimization means it may be either maximization or it may be either minimization. So as transportation cost is involved, so optimization of transportation cost in the sense, minimization of transportation cost. Okay. Now let us say you are having 2 manufacturing plants like S1 and S2. Okay. Now let us say you are having demands at D1, D2, D3. You can assume them as cities. So in these 2 cities you are having manufacturing plants, and from these 2 cities you have to transport to this particular 3 cities. Okay. So it is in general, but in our industrial language we have given some names to this. Okay. So these manufacturing plants or these cities, we call them as sources. Sources in the sense, it is a source for the finished products. Okay. So it may be, you can assume this as manufacturing plant 1 or manufacturing plant 2 or else city 1, city 2, where you are having some manufacturing plants. Okay. Now, this we call it as source and this we call it as destination. Destination in the sense, so from this manufacturing plant, you are transporting to this particular cities, you can say. Okay. So D1, D2, D3, this we call them as destinations. That's why I am representing it as S1, S2 because it is source of your finished products. And these are your destinations. So maybe in actual scenario, you may be having some n number of destinations. That means maybe 10 destinations, 20 destination cities. Okay. And maybe you can have some 3 or 4 manufacturing plants in different cities. So for our convenience, we just have taken a small example, right? So these are your sources where you are manufacturing your finished goods, and these are your destinations. I mean, to this particular destinations, you have to transport your finished goods, right? Now, the possible condition, I mean, what could be the possibilities? So from here you can transport to this particular city or this particular destination, and from here you can transport to this destination, and from here you can transport to this destination also. Now let us assume that you are transporting X11 number of units from source 1 to destination 1, and you are transporting X12 number of units from source 1 to destination 2. Similarly, it is x13. So similarly from source 2 also you can transport. So let us say it is x21, this is x22 and this is x23. So now what are these variables which we have written? x11, x12, these are your number of units which you are transporting from source to destination. Okay, so x11 in the sense, so you are transporting x11 number of units from source 1 to destination 1, and you are transporting x12 number of units from source 1 to destination 2, and so on. Okay, so just keep this in mind. Okay, what is our ultimate aim? So our ultimate aim is to minimize the or to optimize the transportation cost, right? Now, now some more names are also given, like this we can call it as source or supply points, because it is supplying the finished goods, we call it as supply points. So these destinations are demand points, supply points and demand points. Now how many variables are there here? So if you can count these variables, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 variables are there. Okay, so if we are having 2 sources and 3 destinations, the number of variables will be 6. Now these variables we call them as decision variables. So already we have seen this term in linear programming, in graphical method and in simplex method also we have seen this term, decision variables. Okay, so ultimately you have to find out the decision variables. Okay, now here also ultimately after solving transportation problem, you have to find out these variables. What are these variables? These are number of units which you are transporting from source to destination. Okay, now you have to find out these variables in such a way that your total cost or total transportation cost should be minimum. Now how this cost is related? Now let us assume that, so you are spending C11 units, okay, I mean C11 rupees. Now what is this C11? So if you are transporting 1 unit from source 1 to destination 1, what is the transportation cost? That is C11. So C11 is unit transportation cost. In the sense, if you are transporting 1 unit from source 1 to destination 1, you have to pay a transportation cost of C11 rupees. So similarly you can write C12, C21, C22 and so on. Okay. Now how can we find total transportation cost? So number of units are x11 and this is your unit cost. So x11 into C11 will be the total cost from S1 to D1. So similarly you can find the total cost for other source and destinations also. So like C11 into x11 plus C12 into x12 plus C13 into x13 plus and so on. Okay, that will be your total cost equation. Okay, that means your total cost is a function of these particular variables. Okay, so what are the variables here? This x11, x12 and all these things are your variables, and C11, C12 it is your unit transportation cost, which is constant. Okay, so your total cost is a function of these variables. So ultimately you have to find out these variables, these 6 variables which you have seen for this example. So ultimately you have to find out these variables in such a way that your total cost should be minimum. So how can we write total cost here? So total cost is equal to C11 into x11 plus C12 into x12 plus C13 into x13 plus and so on. Okay, so like this you can write your total cost equation. So your total cost equation or your total transportation cost is a function of these variables. So ultimately after solving transportation problem, you have to find out these variables in such a way that this total cost should be minimum. Okay, so this is the aim or objective of our transportation problem. Now what we are going to do is, we are converting this transportation problem. So ultimately we have to solve this problem, right? So we are converting this transportation problem into a linear programming problem, LPP. So what is LPP? Linear objective function and linear constraints. So already we have solved so many questions in LPP using graphical method and simplex method, if you remember. So similarly we are converting this problem into a linear programming problem. So after converting this problem, we will see whether we can solve this problem using LPP or should we have to use any other methods, that we will see afterwards. But first thing, we are converting this problem into a linear programming problem. So again, this conversion, it is also important, okay, because if you don't understand this conversion, you cannot understand the other things and other algorithms which we are going to discuss afterwards, okay. So please copy this, and if you are having any doubts regarding this, you can ask. Okay, Ranjit, no issues, we just have started with transportation problem, don't worry, okay. So you can follow from here. Just now we have started transportation, and just we have discussed some applications of this transportation problem in industries, and we are converting this transportation problem into linear programming problem, okay. So you can follow from now, okay, no issues. So you have not missed much. So people, please copy and let me know if you have done. So please copy these terms, okay, then I will start explaining the other things. So what we are going to do now, we are converting this transportation problem into a linear programming problem. See, what are the example which we have taken, like sources we have taken 2 and destinations we have taken 3, right? So there we have seen what are the number of decision variables, it is 6, okay. Now can we generalize that term? So how we got that 6? So number of decision variables is equal to number of sources into number of destinations, or number of supply points into number of destinations. Similarly, here I am taking m as number of sources, there I have taken S1, S2, okay, but here I am taking m as number of sources, okay. What about n? It is number of destinations. Now what will be your decision variables? What will be the total number of decision variables if m is sources and n is number of destinations? See, there we have taken S1, S2, S3, right? Here I am just taking it as m, like 1, 2, 3, so on up to m, and 1, 2, 3, so on up to n are your destinations. So what will be your number of decision variables here? M into n. So no need to worry, I will dictate those statements, okay? Just I am giving this in general, okay? So I will dictate those statements, don't worry. So m into n will be your total number of decision variables, okay? Now what about this xij? Xij is number of units transported from source I to destination j. So already I have told you, so we have seen x11, x12 and so on. Now I am just generalizing that particular term, xij. So from source I to destination j, how many number of units are transported, that is your xij value. Next Cij, it is the unit transportation cost. So definitely it will be in terms of rupees per unit, okay. Now Ai, it is number of supply units. You will come to know about this, okay. So Ai we call it as number of supply units. That means, let us say if it is A1, okay. So A1 is the number of units which that particular source can supply, total or maximum number of units that particular source can supply, and so on, okay. So don't worry, when we draw that particular table, then you will come to know. And Bj will be the number of demand units, okay. So when we draw that particular table, then you will understand these two terms, okay. So I hope you have copied these terms, and some doubts are asking why A and B are separately. So you will come to know, Muhammad, okay. So got it? Okay, fine. So I hope you have copied this. Now I am just writing a tabular form, okay. So please observe this carefully. So here I am writing destinations, and here I am writing sources. That means in this particular column I am writing sources, and in this particular row I am writing destinations. So previously what were your sources? In the example which we have seen, S1, S2, S3, those are your sources. Now I am just representing them as 1, 2, 3 and so on, okay. So these are your sources. So what are your sources? M sources, okay. So maximum it is M. So 1, 2, 3, so on up to M. So these are your number of sources. Like you can imagine like S1, S2, S3 also, if you are not comfortable. Now what about destinations? So you will be having n number of destinations. So it will be 1, 2, 3, so on up to n number of. Now here I am writing one more term which is supply. So this is supply, and this will be your demand. See, these are your sources, right? Sources in the sense manufacturing units. That means where you are manufacturing some finished goods, right? Now source 1 can supply maximum A1 number of units. So A1, it is number of units, supply units, right? So source 1 can supply, or source 1 can manufacture maximum A1 number of units. Similarly, for source 2 and source 3 also, you can write. So like A2, A3, so on up to AM. So similarly, what about this Bj? It is number of demand units. That means these are your destinations like D1, D2, D3, where you have to supply some finished goods, right? So obviously destinations will be having some amount of demand. So that's why you are supplying from the you are supplying from these sources. Okay. Now, so D1, so let us say it is D1, D2, D3 and so on. So destination 1 is having a demand of B1 number of units. Okay. Similarly, B2, B3, so on up to Bn. So hope you have understood this particular table, these things. Okay. Now I'm just writing these values x11, x12, x13, so on up to x1n. So similarly for columns also I can write x21, x31, so on up to xm1. Okay. So similarly I am writing the cost values also. So let this will be C11, C12, C13 and so on up to C1n. So similarly it will be C21, C31, so on up to Cm1. Now what is this x11? So from source 1 to destination 1, you are supplying x11 number of units. Similarly, from source 1 to destination 2, you are supplying x12 number of units and so on. So similarly in column wise direction also. So these are the number of units which you are supplying from source to destination. And what about these values? C11, C12. So these are your unit transportation cost. Okay. So that means if you are transporting 1 unit from source 1 to destination 1, you have to pay C11 number of rupees. Okay. Now how to get total cost? X11 into C11 plus X12 into C12 plus and so on. Like this if you are taking summation in row direction and if you take summation in column wise direction, then you will get total cost. Okay. So what is our aim? So our aim is to write the linear programming problem for this particular transportation problem. So that we are going to do now. So please reply if you are having any doubt regarding this. So please reply if you are having any doubt regarding this. So if you are okay with this, then I will write the LPP for this particular transportation problem. Mohammed x11 plus x12, very good. So I am just coming to that part, okay. So whatever you said, it is correct. So similarly for other rows also you can write, for all the rows you can write, okay. So I am just coming to that. So if you are having doubt regarding this table, how we have written, you can ask, okay. Okay, so if you are having any doubt regarding this, I am just explaining this in brief again. So please listen carefully. So what we have done? So just first understand these terms, okay. So M will be your number of sources, N will be the number of destinations, and Xij will be the number of units transported from source I to destination J. So just you can compare with the first example, okay, which I have given, S1, S2, D1, D2, D3, that example we have discussed. You can compare these terms with that particular example, okay. So these are your sources, okay. That means these are your manufacturing units, you can say, okay. So in this particular sources, you are manufacturing some finished goods. Like let us say it is source 1, source 2, 3 and so on up to M number of manufacturing units are there for your industry. Okay. So like you can say in M number of cities, you are having manufacturing plants. Okay. And these are your destinations. Okay. Destinations in the sense, after manufacturing in this sources, you are supplying your finished goods to this particular destinations. Okay. Now, see source 1 or you can say manufacturing unit 1 can manufacture a total of only A1 number of units. So that is what we have written, number of supply units. Okay. See if this particular manufacturing unit or if this particular source 1 is manufacturing A1 number of units, that means it can supply maximum A1 number of units to any destination it can supply. Okay. But maximum it can supply A1 number of units. Similarly, you can write for A2, A3 and so on up to AM. So these are your supply units. Okay. So source 1 can supply maximum A1 number of units. Source 2 can supply maximum A2 number of units and so on. Okay. Now similarly, 1, 2, 3, these are your destinations. Obviously, your destinations will be having some amount of demand. So B1, B2, B3 are the demands for this particular destinations. So destination 1, it is having a demand of B1 number of units. Destination 2, it is having a demand of B2 number of units, and so on. Now this one, X11. So what is X11? So from source 1 to destination 1, you are transporting X11 number of units. From source 1 to destination 2, you are transporting X12 number of units, and so on. So basically this X11, X12 are your number of units transported from source to destination J. So you can take this source I as 1, 2, 3 up to M, and this J will be 1, 2, 3 up to N. Okay. Now similarly this C11, C12, those are your unit transportation costs. Now what do you mean by unit transportation cost? If you are transporting 1 unit from source 1 to destination 1, you have to pay C11 number of units. Okay. So this is what we call it as unit transportation cost. So like this we have formulated a table. So after formulating this table, so hope it is understood now. So now we are going to write LPP. Now what is our aim? Our aim is to minimize the transportation cost. Already I have told you your transportation cost or total transportation cost is a function of these variables X11, X12. These variables we call them as decision variables. Already we have seen in linear programming problem also. So here also we are seeing supply should be always equal to demand. I mean total supply should be always equal to total demand. Please don't worry, we will discuss all those points. Okay. So let me complete this. Okay. So after that we will discuss that also. Okay. So always your total supply should be equal to total demand. Okay. So please be patient, we will discuss that also. So let me write LPP for this. Okay. So after that you can ask your doubts. Okay. So please let me complete this. Okay. Now how can we write total cost or objective function? So obviously your objective function should be a minimization problem. So because transportation cost is involved, so as transportation cost is involved, your objective function should be or your LPP should be a minimization problem. Okay. So obviously you have to optimize the transportation cost or you have to minimize the transportation cost. So how to get total cost? So total cost, how to get total cost? X11 into C11 plus X12 into C12, because these are the number of units and this is the unit transportation cost. Okay. X11 into C11 plus X12 into C12 plus X13 into C13 plus and so on X1n into C1n. So like this you have to take for all the rows. Okay. And similarly you have to take for all the columns. Okay. That means you have to take two summations. Yes or no? So I am just taking two summations here. So sigma and sigma. Because in row wise direction you have to take one summation and in column wise direction you have to take another summation. Okay. So what is your total cost? I am generalizing this Xij. So these are your number of units into Cij. Now you just tell me the limits of these two summations. So what are the limits of these two summations? Please reply. What about the limits of these two summations? So I hope you have understood this table, right? So from this table you can tell the limits. So 1 to m and 1 to n. Okay, Mohammed, fine. So I will tell, okay. See, how to get total cost? So here I am writing the limits, okay. So it is I value. So this is your source. These are your sources. So I is equal to 1 to m and these are your destinations. J is equal to 1 to n. Okay. So I am writing j is equal to 1 to n and I is equal to 1 to m. Okay. So put j is equal to 1 or else you can put I is equal to 1. Put I is equal to 1. Put I is equal to 1. So this is I is equal to 1, right? Put I is equal to 1 and vary your j value from 1 to n. So you will be getting this particular total cost. Okay. So again put I is equal to 2 and vary your j value from 1 to n. Put I is equal to 3 and vary your j value from 1 to n and so on like this. So like that you will be getting cost values in rows. Similarly, put j is equal to 1. Put j is equal to 1 and vary your I value from 1 to m. So like that you will be getting total cost in columns. Okay. That's why you have taken two summations. Okay. So hope it is understood. So I is equal to 1 to m and j is equal to 1 to n. So this is your objective function. Okay. Which is a minimization problem. So ultimately we have to minimize the total transportation cost. Okay. Now similarly, we can write the constraints also. So this is subjected to the constraints. How to write constraints? So Mohammed, I think you have told one point. So x11 plus x12 plus x13 plus and so on up to x1n should be equal to a1. Because see, maximum number of units which source 1 can supply, it is a1 number of units, right? So from source 1 to destination 1 you can supply. From source 1 to destination 2 also you can supply, and so on. Okay. So maybe you can supply any number of units, but the summation of all these units should be equal to 1. Okay. Now how can we write this in the form of a constraint? So sigma. So here your j value is varying from 1 to n, right? So j value, it is varying from 1 to n. Okay. Xij is equal to ai. So where your I value will be varying from 1 to so on up to m. So listen carefully. So I am just put I is equal to 1, put I is equal to 1, put I is equal to 1 and vary your j value from 1 to n. Okay. So like put I is equal to 1 and vary your j value from 1 to n, then you will be getting x11 plus x12 plus x13 so on up to x1n is equal to a1. Then put I is equal to 2, then you will be getting this particular row. Put I is equal to 3, then you will be getting this particular row. Okay. So this, like this you will be getting constraints in row wise or in row direction, right? Now similarly you can get constraints in column wise direction also. How to get constraints in column wise direction? So here we have written j is equal to 1 to n, right? So here we can write I is equal to 1 to m. Xij is equal to bj. So vary your j value from 1, 2, 3 so on up to n. Okay. So put j is equal to 1, j is equal to 1. So this is your j is equal to 1 and vary your I value from 1 to m. So like x11 plus x21 plus x31 so on up to xm1 is equal to b1. Okay. So similarly you will be getting for other columns also. So one more condition is there. What is that condition? So I have already told. So someone was asking about supply and demand values. Always your total supply should be equal to total demand. Okay. See, what are the algorithms which we are having for solving transportation models or transportation problems? So you can apply those algorithms only if this condition is satisfied. That means total supply should be always equal to total demand. If it is not equal, what should we do? That we will discuss afterwards. Okay. As of now, please keep this in mind. Your total supply should be always equal to total demand. Now how can we write that condition? So total supply is A1 plus A2 plus A3 so on up to AM. So sigma, we can write I is equal to 1 to M. AI is equal to sigma J is equal to 1 to N. Sigma J is equal to 1 to N. Bj. So this is your condition. So total supply should be equal to total demand always. Okay. So this is your LPP, linear programming problem. Okay. So any doubt regarding this? So just we have converted this into a LPP. Objective function, it is subjected to these constraints. Okay. So we just have written in a generalized form. Okay. So please do reply if you are having any doubts regarding this, or else you can copy this. Okay. Please copy this. So if you are having any doubt regarding this, you can ask. Okay. So Shima, you are asking how industries determine their demand values. Okay. See, they will be determining or they will be forecasting their demand values. Okay. So this part, I mean how they are finding the demand values, that we will see in forecasting chapter. So forecasting chapter we are going to discuss in PPC, production planning and control. So there we will be discussing how these industries are determining their demand values. Okay. So they will be forecasting these demand values. Again, for forecasting you are having so many methods like quantitative methods, qualitative methods and so on. So don't worry, we will discuss this part, I mean how they are determining their demands in PPC, forecasting chapter. Okay, so now please answer my question. So already we know the number of decision variables are m into n. Total number of decision variables are m into n, right? Now you just tell me how many number of constraints are there here? Total number of constraints, please reply. Total number of constraints are how many? How many number of constraints are there? Total number of constraints. So again it was a GATE previous year question, okay? Total number of constraints are 3. Abhimanyu, you are saying m plus n plus 1. Anshu, you are saying m. Okay, so please listen. So make this point clear. It is not a constraint, okay? It is just a condition. It's not a constraint. So it is just, we can say it is assumption, but it is not a constraint, okay? So please remove this. It is not a constraint, it is just assumption. So maybe in industries if you go, supply may not be equal to demand, okay? That is actual scenario, but we are taking an assumption. It is not a constraint. M plus n. Abhimanyu, good. M plus n. See, I am just removing this, okay? Forget about this. It is not your constraint. It is just a condition which you are taking, or else you can say it is an assumption, okay? Now, here you are having m number of constraints, okay? Put I is equal to 1, you will get one constraint. Put I is equal to 2, you will get one more constraint. Like this, you will be getting m number of constraints here. Similarly, here you are varying your j value from 1 to n, right? So here you will be getting n number of constraints. So total number of constraints will be m plus n. So it was a GATE previous year question, 1 mark question. Okay. So like this, they can ask some theoretical type of questions. That's why we have discussed this problem formulation also. Okay. So hope this constraints, number of constraints, it is clear to you, right? So please copy this. Now I will dictate some points. Okay. So what are the points which you have discussed till now? That I will dictate. Okay. So maybe you can take a note of that, because they may ask some theoretical type of questions based on these points. Okay. So now just answer one more question. Now can we solve this problem using simplex method or any other methods? Like we are having some more methods, right? Big M method, two-phase method. Can we solve this problem using simplex or big M or two-phase method or any other linear programming problem methods? We can solve, okay? So we can solve this problem maybe using some big M method or two-phase method, or some more methods are available, okay? But the only difficulty is, you can see number of constraints are very high here, okay? So you are having equality type of constraints, okay? And the number of constraints will be m plus n. That means you will be having more number of constraints. So dealing with that number of constraints, solving problems manually with that number of constraints, it becomes a laborious process, very lengthy process, okay? That's why we are not solving this problem using those linear programming methods. You can solve this problem, but what is happening here? It is becoming a very lengthy problem because number of constraints are very high. So we are not using linear programming methods to solve this particular problem. We just have converted this problem, that's all. But we are not solving this problem using LPP methods, okay? So we are having some more methods which are known as transportation algorithms or distribution algorithms. Using those algorithms, we are solving this particular transportation problem. So those are simpler algorithms when compared to linear programming methods. Okay, so hope it is clear. So write down some points. So first point, linear programming methods are not used for solving transportation problems, as the number of constraints are very high. Full stop. So transportation models or distribution models are used to solve transportation problems. Next point, the objective of the transportation models is to find the minimum transportation cost. Okay, so next just keep adding assumptions. So what are the assumptions which we are taking while dealing with transportation models? That we are discussing, okay? Assumptions. So what is our first assumption? So we are assuming that total supply is always equal to total demand. So write down first assumption. Total supply is equal to total demand. Total supply is equal to total demand. Second point, the unit transportation cost the unit transportation cost is exactly known. The unit transportation cost is exactly known. So what do you mean by this point? So C11, C12 values are exactly known. That means these are not changing with respect to time. So these values are deterministic. Okay. So what is meant by deterministic? If we know the exact values, then we call it as deterministic, right? So already we have seen or we have discussed in CPM and PERT chapter, if you remember. So what we are saying? So we know the unit transportation costs exactly. So these are your assumptions. So next point. The total number of decision variables is equal to m into n. So these are your total number of decision variables. Total number of decision variables is equal to m into n. Next point. So these are not assumptions, okay? These are just general points. So which we have discussed till now. Total number of decision variables is equal to m into n. Next point. The total number of constraints is equal to m plus n. The total number of constraints is equal to m plus n. So these are your total number of constraints. Right? So next, write down one more important point, okay? As all the constraints are of is equal to type, there exists a redundant type of constraint. So let me complete 1 or 2 points are left. After that I will come to your doubts. Please be patient, okay? So right on I am repeating this point again. As all the constraints are of is equal to type, there exists a redundant type of constraint. Okay. See again, if you are having all the constraints as is equal to type, okay, definitely there exists one redundant type of constraint. What is meant by redundant constraint? Already we have seen in graphical method. So it is useless constraint. That means even if you are removing that particular constraint, there will be no change in your optimal solution, right? So we call those type of constraints as redundant type of constraints. So if all the constraints are of is equal to type like this, okay, so there exists a redundant type of constraint. Okay, that's what we said here. Okay, so then then what will be the total number of non-redundant constraints? So total constraints are m plus n and you are having one redundant constraint, right? So total number of non-redundant constraints will be m plus n minus 1. Okay, so take down this point. The total number of non-redundant constraints is equal to m plus n minus 1. Next point. Number of basic variables is equal to number of allocations. Is equal to m plus n minus 1. Number of basic variables is equal to number of allocations is equal to m plus n minus 1. Number of basic variables is equal to number of allocations is equal to m plus n minus 1 again. I am just calling this point as assumption. That means total supply is equal to total demand. This is your assumption. One more assumption we have taken, like C11, C12, whatever the unit transportation cost is there. That is your, we know these values exactly. So maybe in general, maybe your transportation cost, that is your unit transportation cost, may vary in actual and real life situations. But in theoretical point of view, we are assuming that these are constants. And we are taking an assumption that total supply is equal to total demand. Okay, so if total supply is not equal to total demand, we are making it equal. So we have taken an assumption, right? So if it is not equal, what should we do? That we will see afterwards. Okay, but as of now we are assuming that always your total supply is equal to total demand, because see, whatever the transportation algorithms which we are going to discuss now, those algorithms are applicable only when this condition is satisfied, because those algorithms are developed in such a way. Okay, so if this condition is not getting satisfied, those algorithms you cannot use, you cannot apply. So while developing those algorithms, they have taken this assumption. Okay, so that is why it is just an assumption, or else you can say condition. Okay, so if this condition is not satisfied, we cannot use those algorithms. Okay, so and these two are your constraints. So number of decision variables are m into n. Okay, so this will always be true. Correct, Kumar? So number of decision variables are m into n. It is always true. Always true. So whenever if they are asking a question in gate examination also, you can mark m into n. It is always true. Okay. Okay. So Anurag, whatever the doubt which you are asking, so I mean it is having very lengthy explanation. Okay. So I will try to brief this one. Okay. So because it is not that much important for gate examination, I mean it is not at all important for gate examination. That's why I have skipped that part. Okay. So as you have asked, I am giving you some brief explanation. Okay. See, whenever you are having is equal to type constraints, okay, whenever you are having equality type constraints, let us say, you are having an equality type constraint. So other people also you can listen, because, so he said that, I mean, what is meant by this? I mean, how we got one constraint as non-redundant type constraint? Maybe that is your doubt, right? Now, so whenever you are having a constraint like x1 plus x2 less than or like is equal to 8. So till now we have not seen these type of constraints, right? So maybe we have seen less than or equal type constraints, or maybe we have seen greater than or equal to type constraints. So again, don't worry, they will never ask in gate examination these type of constraints. Okay, so no need to worry. I am just giving you some extra information as you have asked one doubt. See, whenever you are having equality type constraints like this, what you have to do is, you cannot use these equality type of constraints directly in linear programming problems. I mean, maybe in simplex method or maybe in graphical method also, you cannot use them directly. Okay, what you have to do is, so you have to convert this particular constraint, or you have to split this particular constraint into two constraints like this. Okay, so these two constraints are equivalent to this particular one constraint. So you can have a look, less than or equal to 8, greater than or equal to 8. So just you have to imagine, okay, so it is little bit complex thing, okay. So similarly you have to convert all the constraints, I mean all the constraints are of is equal to type, okay. So you have to you have to convert all the equality type of constraints like this, okay. So after converting them, whenever you are plotting in a graph, let us say if it is a two variable problem, whenever you are plotting them in a graph, definitely you will get one constraint as redundant type of constraint. So this can be seen graphically only. So I cannot give explanation for this, okay. So whenever you are having equality type constraints, maybe you can take, okay, so take 2-3 equality type constraints, convert them like this, plot them in a graph, then you can observe one constraint will be redundant type of constraint. That's what I have told here, okay. So in-depth explanation for this, it is not required because not related to gate examination, okay. So that's why we are not going in-depth, okay. So you can simply remember, whenever you are having equality type constraints, definitely one constraint will be redundant type of constraint. So first two, I mean this condition, this is your assumption, and after that we have told that we exactly know the unit transportation cost, okay. Only those 2 points are assumptions, remaining are just points which we have discussed, okay, fine. So nothing great is there. So whenever you are having useless type of constraints, okay, so if a particular constraint is not affecting your feasible region, I mean if a particular constraint is not touching your feasible region, that constraint will be your redundant